And I now give the floor to the distinguished observer of the Sovereign Order of Malta.
Mr. President, Excellencies and distinguished colleagues, the Sovereign Order of Malta thanks you for calling this meeting to discuss key comprehensive reports published by the Secretary-General. Transparency remains our most effective tool at the United Nations, and the transparency shown in these reports allows us to better understand and thus better respond to the natural disasters and those humanitarian crises we will continue to face. According to the World Meteorological Organization, the past 8 years are on track to be the 8 warmest on record, fueled by ever-rising greenhouse gas concentrations and accumulated heat. Extreme heat waves, drought and devastating flooding have affected millions and cost billions. In an annual report published by the global reinsurance company Swiss Re, it's believed that the global economic losses from natural disasters such as floods, hurricanes and wildfires will exceed $260 billion in 2021. This is the price that is too often borne by the least affluent of our brothers and sisters, and which, in its turn, consigns them and future generations to deeper levels of poverty and privation. But sometimes, even in moments of crises, opportunities are created. We must use this opportunity to reflect and reconsider our expenditure priorities, step up to the plate when it comes to following through on funding promises made to our most at-risk nations following COP27, and deal with the economic and social dimensions of the North-South divide. Some here may disagree, but I ask you, if not now, then when? Across the world, governments, sovereign entities like ours, and NGOs are accelerating humanitarian and disaster relief in consort with the United Nations, helping those living in the midst of armed conflict and natural disasters by providing medical assistance, care for refugees, and by distributing medicines and basic equipment for survival. By focusing on disaster risk reduction, we implement measures to ensure communities are prepared when disasters strike. At the Order of Malta, through our prevention programs, we particularly reach out to people who are least able to flee from war and conflict, the elderly and the disabled. After an epochal level of rain and flooding in the past months, where 33 million in Pakistan continue to be affected by the monsoon, our international aid agency, Malteser International, assisted in rescue operations and the evacuation of families in the severely affected province of Sindh. In training sessions, our volunteers were trained to warn the population of disasters at an early stage and to then accompany people to higher grounds during flooding. We were one of the many aid agencies that quickly came to the aid of that beleaguered nation. Furthermore, considering the Secretary-General's report titled "The Persistent Legacy of the Chernobyl Disaster," we join his call to ensure no one is left behind and unable to find help in the face of such disasters. In recent years, we have donated Order of Malta ambulances to affected areas, as well as providing financial aid and rehabilitation services to first and second generation victims of the meltdown. Since 1986, our response to this disaster has continued, and we do not lose sight of the fact that 36 years after this explosion, we are still making monumental efforts in alleviating its social and environmental effects. Yet, in recent months, we have all witnessed the potentially very similar near destruction of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power station. Seemingly, humankind remains unenlightened by its very own history. We commend the focused discussion the United Nations has towards Palestine in recent weeks. As is highlighted in the report, the social sector there was hit hardest by COVID-19, and the recent security escalations have significantly weakened the safety net for the most vulnerable in their society. In response, we are expanding our resources to protect its most at-risk citizens, namely women, children, and refugees, trying to provide them with hope through employment and medical assistance. We know there are no easy solutions to the world's problems. However, the urgency in reconciling our own political differences and seeking common action in the face of those clear and present dangers which transcend political and cultural domains, we must not be lost on any of us. The United Nations is, after all, our last best hope, not only in coordinating humanitarian and disaster relief, but also in energizing in all of us the will and power to break through our differences and put the needs of the sick, the poor, and the marginalized at the center of our efforts. It is they who demand justice in regions that too often put national self-interest, power, and control before a concern for the victims of our own disregard for the common good. Drawing on our own Christian heritage and tradition, we seek hope in the words of the Beatitudes. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst after justice, for they shall have their fill. If all of us expand our collective collaboration with UN aid agencies and related bodies, we can be on the right side of history and continue to earn the respect of those who are, tragically, on the wrong side of the economic divide. I thank you, Mr. President.